All right, welcome into the latest edition of the Will Wade Podcast, presented by FM Digital Media every week here. A little late this week, but we are going to get you some content for the weekend and lots to get to with the General as we salute him here going into the weekend. Coach, we talk a ton of college basketball, and we will, but we're going to start in the NBA. One of your guys, Cam Thomas, has had a phenomenal week, a historical week. He is the first player or the youngest player in NBA history to score 40 points or more in 3 consecutive games, which he did earlier this week for the Brooklyn Nets. He had 21 last night for Chicago, but what have you made of your sharp shooting Cam Thomas now in the Brooklyn Nets organization shining like he did this week?
I'm not surprised. I mean, it just takes opportunity at that level, and he's always going to stay ready. He's always going to keep working. It was funny. We were texting after one of the games. He's like, "I appreciate it, Coach. You're one of the few that text me when I didn't even play." I went to one of the games. They played the Hawks in Atlanta, and I went to the game. He didn't play. He got me. I drove down there, and he left me some tickets and left me some passes to stay after and come in the locker room with him and stuff. And we spent like an hour and a half together. It was awesome. But he didn't even play. But a lot of it's opportunity. And look, I mean, the way Cam plays is different. And so even when you do get opportunity with the Brooklyn Nets and you got Kyrie and KD and you've got some other guys, like, he becomes more of a spot up, a floor spacer, corner three guy. He can't do what he does, which is just find ways to score. And I said this 100 times when he was, and it's funny, he sent me a text yesterday. He sent me a text yesterday from somebody, or a tweet yesterday. He knows I'm not on Twitter, so he sent me a tweet yesterday from somebody tweeting about him and his free throw rate. And it went through his free throw rate in the NBA and his free throw rate at LSU. And he was like, "You tried to tell him, Coach." And last night he didn't shoot it well, but he still ended up with 20 because he was 13 of 13 from the free throw line. Right. And anyway, my point was, and I said this to every NBA team, like, he's drawn fouls in high school. He's drawn fouls in AAU. He drew fouls. I mean, he was top 10 in the country in free throw rate. Before we got off the bus at LSU, when we had him, we were up 8-0. He was going to get 8 or 9 free throws, and he was going to make 8 of them, 8 out of 9 or 8 out of 8. I mean, we were up 8-0 before we even got off the bus because he was going to get fouled. And like, that stuff translates. If you're a really good free throw shooter, which he's a 90+% free throw shooter, 85+% free throw shooter, and you can contort your body and do all the crazy things he can do with his body to get fouled, I mean, you're gonna be really, really successful. And so, last night he shot 13 free throws in an NBA game. He's 21 years old. It's not like he has to respect the officials and that sort of stuff yet. I mean, he's got a lot of really, really good basketball ahead of him. I'm happy for him because he loves to play. Yeah. He loves to play. He'd sit in there and play all day. And, he's gone a month without playing much or playing 8 minutes or 10 minutes or, that sort of thing. And for him to stay ready and be ready to do that. We had a good week last week. Trendon had 21 and 10 in a game in Washington. Naz has been absolutely killing it. He's he's one of the hottest guys in the NBA. So, Days played for the Rockets. Tari had a hell of a game last week. Javante's been playing well for the squadron. I mean, our guys, for whatever reason, started peaking here this week. But Cam's been phenomenal. And part of it's just his confidence. I mean, he's got like unshakable confidence and belief in himself because of the hard work him and his mother have put in. And so been very, 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 very happy for him.
Darius Days made his debut for the Houston Rockets. He only played 2 minutes in his debut, but his stat line was incredible in those 2 minutes. He had like 2 offensive boards, 2 points. He
does what he does, but he's going to get opportunities. Yeah. He's played really well. I mean, he's averaging 20 plus for the G League team. Yeah. He's averaging like 24 a game for the G League team. He hadn't met a shot he doesn't like, but he told me, I said, "Damn, Days, how many are you going to shoot?" He said, "You always said shoot it before you turn it over, so I might as well throw it up there." He's playing really, really well. I was actually texting with his agent earlier this morning on some things, but he's playing extremely, extremely well, doing a great job. And he's going to get more and more opportunities. He's kind of like what they like in the NBA. He's 6'6", 6'7", can make some shots. He got better defensively, believe it or not, with us. Especially his last year, he was really good. he's played well in the G League. That's hard to do what he's done in the G League if you're not a ball dominant guard. The G League's built for ball dominant guards and wings, and he ain't that. For him to be able to do that says a lot, and I think he's going to continue to have some opportunities at the NBA level.
Naz is, like you said, becoming a household name right now. Naz Reid for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He is trending towards a guy that is a perennial all-star. What do you see from him?
He's about to be one of the wealthiest individuals you know.
Yeah, I agree.
He's going to get a huge extension. But I mean, he's so naturally talented. He's naturally a tremendous talent, and it takes time, man. I mean, he was huge. Don't get me wrong. He's 7'1". He's huge, but people forget when they're with us, they're 18, 19 years old. I mean, you're a lot different at 22, 23 than you are 18, 19. And he had a hell of a year for us. He was the most reliable, dependable, never missed a practice. He was diving on loose balls in games. I mean, after that trip to Orlando, we really rebounded the ball well. We almost had a knockdown drag-out in the ballroom in Orlando. We had just lost. Remember, I think you were down there, Jordy, weren't you?
Florida State game?
We had just lost to Florida State in overtime. I don't have the stat sheet for. I think Naz had like 1 or 2 rebounds, and it was an overtime game, and he played like 42 minutes. And I lost it. I lost it. And he came back at me, and I went back at him, and the team had to. It was intense. But he got my message, and he rebounded his ass off after that. He was, he's played really, really well. He's in great shape. I saw him last time I saw him in person was I saw him in May, and then I saw him again in July. And he's really in shape. He really works hard. He's got an off-season home out in Phoenix area and trains hard out there. He's really taking things seriously and doing a really, really good job with handling himself right, and that's giving him the opportunity to maximize his talent and squeeze all the natural ability that he has out of himself.
You were in the league when they announced the addition of Texas and Oklahoma a couple of years ago. Last night, the league office announced that they're going to move that up 1 year and get Texas and OU into the league a year earlier than expected. Everybody looks at the football aspect of this, but these are 2 quality men's basketball programs coming into the SEC. When that announcement was made, what was your reaction? And then last night, seeing that it'll happen a little sooner rather than later, what does that mean for the SEC?
Well, man, I'm not one to duck any competition. Scott actually asked me when I was still the coach there, and he was like, "What do you think?" I said, "Bring it on. Just 2 more good teams." Look, Texas with the new arena, and obviously they've got a coaching situation they've got to handle, but they're tremendous. Oklahoma's just very consistent. I think their whole, obviously their softball and gymnastics are phenomenal, and football will be whatever. But their basketball's just always been kind of rock solid. I think they'll be a perennial, just right there in the middle to top of the pack. I think Texas will obviously compete at the top just because of their brand. And, the state of Texas right now, this is going to be an interesting, development for everybody in the league. But the state of Texas right now is just absolutely loaded with players. Just loaded. There's tons of players everywhere. You can go to DFW Airport and hit a pitching wedge and hit a 5-star in almost every direction. And so, it's going to open up. Rylan Griffin, I don't know if the kid from the freshman at Alabama who's playing and hitting a bunch of shots. He's from the Dallas area. It's going to open up some Texas recruiting even more so than just having A&M. It's going to open up some Texas recruiting for a lot of these other SEC schools, especially. Anthony Black's from Dallas, who's at Arkansas. Especially the ones on the western, the more western, LSU, right. The Mississippi schools, Arkansas, Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. It's going to be you still got them Big 12. It's going to be a battle royale in there for some players. So I think having Texas is going to open the state up even more for the rest of the SEC to come in. And Texas, obviously, they've got Ryan Holland committed or signed, who's a top 10 player in the country out of Duncanville High School outside of Dallas. And so, they'll obviously get their get who they want. But I mean, it's gonna be interesting. But Texas is going to be poised, in my opinion, to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league, and Oklahoma will be a middle to top tier team. I think their addition, is really going to make it difficult for some of the South Carolinas, the Mississippi States, the Ole Miss. For some of those guys of the world, it's going to make it a lot more challenging to kind of get in, to stay in that middle class, if you will. You want to stay out of the bottom, but if you can stay in that middle class, you're going to have a great opportunity to make the NCAA tournament more times than not. So I think it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for some of those guys that are in that middle class.
Big one in the league tomorrow, and one that you're familiar with, obviously, both sidelines, Alabama and Auburn. Alabama, a top 5 team in the country right now, number 3 in most polls. And Auburn seems like they're struggling a little bit. What do you see in this matchup?
Well, Auburn, it's at Auburn, so that's the number one factor. That's the great equalizer, is playing in the jungle down there. Mm-hmm. But if any team's equipped to do it, it's Bama. They just blew the doors off Florida the other day. But they've obviously been a different team on the road for the most part. Their last couple of road games, they didn't play well at Oklahoma and got blasted. They struggled at LSU. So they haven't been just, but I know Coach Oates is sitting there telling them, we're going to make a statement on the road. People are questioning us on the road. That's what I'd be doing. People say we can't play on the road. We're going into the hardest environment in the league. We're going to show everybody we're exactly what we think we are and what they don't think we are. But look, if it's just talent for talent, Alabama's better. But you got Bruce Pearl over there. You've got the jungle. You've got the student section, and Auburn plays extremely hard. I don't know what the splits are this year, but like last year, I think you were at our game when we were at Auburn.
I was.
Auburn shoots 6% better as a team at home from 3 than they do on the road. They shoot 8% better from 2. It's incredible how much better they are and how much more they feed off the energy of the home crowd. And so, I think it'll be an interesting game. Another thing is a lot of this stuff is matchups and coaching matchups, and how Pearl plays is a little bit more difficult for Alabama than most. Auburn was swept by A&M, right? Mm-hmm. And A&M's a really, really tough matchup for Auburn. And Buzz has given Pearl problems quite a bit. Mike White's given him problems too when he was at Florida. And so there's just Mike White gave us problems because we play close to Auburn. There's just some coaches and the way they do things that are a little bit more challenging. Doesn't mean you're not winning the game, but just a little bit more. And then you see it on the flip side. Auburn owns some teams because they just have a way. But we were undefeated. Let's use A&M. We were undefeated against A&M because we had some stuff that was very, very favorable to us every time we stepped on the floor with them. Just the way they played. And so, there's some of that sort of stuff that plays into it. And Auburn is a tougher matchup for Alabama, and Auburn's style of play is a tougher matchup for Alabama than most. And so, I think Alabama's better, and I think, logic would tell you Alabama could win. But, anytime you're hoping for a great crowd and some coaching stuff, that's not a great strategy, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But I think it's going to be a really, really good game.
Is that the new arena that's the closest to the prototype of what basketball arenas will start to look like? Auburn really knocked it out of the park, right?
Thought Auburn did a great job. I think Ole Miss has done a good job with their arena. I think Florida did a good job and they redid theirs. It's still a little bit big. Yeah, I think people, you want premium. You want people to feel like, they're in the action. Everybody at Auburn feels like you're right there. Mm-hmm. The student section's huge, having that on the side. It's an incredible arena, and it'll be sold out and rocking tomorrow for sure.
Mississippi State was a team that LSU saw earlier this week, and State was a pretty intriguing team. I think that they have some pieces in place. What have you made of what they have going on in Starkville and kind of where they're trending here towards the conference tournament time?
Well, I think they're 4-7 in the league. The league schedule for them lightens up quite a bit on the back end here. They're elite defensively. Their offense is just, okay. Tolu Smith's as good an offensive post player as there is in the SEC. And it's just a matter of how many times they can get him the ball and how far they can ride him or how long they can continue to ride him as their offensive weapon. I think they've got an easier back end. I mean, easier is all relative. They're at Arkansas this weekend, but and Muss is doing what he does. He rallies his troops every year, and here they come. They won at Kentucky. They're going to win 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, it's what he does. They have a little midseason lull, and he gets it together. If they add Nick Smith, who knows? But State's got a little bit easier back end here, and they're 4-7 in the league. I mean, I think they're going to have a chance to put themselves on the bubble. I think they're probably in the early 70s out of 68, for 68 slots. I think they're probably in the early 70s, 4 or 5 spots out, probably 5, 6 spots out. And if they can pick up some wins here down the stretch, they got Kentucky at home, I believe, coming up, which is a great opportunity for a good home win. And so I think they're going to find themselves right there on the bubble just because of their defense.
How beautiful was that end of the game play that Vanderbilt hit on to beat Tennessee at home the other night?
Really good play in Tennessee, man. You can't suck in like that. The three's the only thing that can beat you. You got to square them up, make them beat you. Square them up and make them lay it in over a physical shield. That was a breakdown by Tennessee. A lot of stuff there by Tennessee at the end. Not taking the layup, missing the front end of the 1-on-1. I mean, I'm a believer. You always take the points. You always need to take those points, but some people believe otherwise. But I mean, Coach Stackhouse now he's as good a tactician as there is in the league. He may be the best tactician. He runs a ton of. It's a classic action. He loves to throw it to the backside on drives. He runs what they call backside hammers. All of his plays just about have backside hammers. It's more of an NBA concept. A lot of the college teams have picked up on it. Penn State runs a ton of it. Purdue runs a ton of it. But they didn't really hammer the guy to the corner, but they work on that pass all the time, that backside one-handed out of bounds, throw it. They're usually throwing the hammer pass because they back screen that guy to that corner. But he's a really, really good tactician. And any of those guys who have an NBA background, you put them in a side out of bounds situation like that, because in college there's a lot more baseline out of bounds because of the way that the rules are and the trapezoid of where the ball goes baseline and where the ball goes side out of bounds. You put one of them NBA guys in one of them side out of bounds situations, they're going to have some good stuff and really, really good play. And I thought, Tennessee, just had to be a little bit smarter. But once again, Tennessee's offense let them down. I mean, you can't score in the 60s on the road and expect to win all these games.
Absolutely. You mentioned Kentucky, and this is the time of year where it feels like Kentucky should be starting to get in the right direction and head in the right spot. Where do you see the Cats coming down the stretch?
Well, they've got to figure something out on how to keep teams from picking on Oscar defensively, because they have to have him on the court for the offense and the offensive rebounding and just the rebounding. But, I mean, Musselman he put on a clinic on how to pick on somebody. And so we would call it poor whoever. Like Alabama had a kid, Riley Norris. We call it poor Norris. Like we just want to pick on Norris every time he's in there and get him in a switch. And so, Arkansas gave a blueprint on how to. Other teams have done it too. It's not just Arkansas, but they exposed it to a different level. And so, Kentucky's got to figure out how to hide him. They've been out there hedging. Maybe they got a shadow on some ball screens. Maybe they got to do a deep drop and just keep him there and go under. Cal's not big on playing zone. Playing zone's an option with that sort of thing. But they've got to find some way to keep teams from just isoing him defensively and putting them in really, really tough spots where they can score a ton.
Purdue gets a win last night over Iowa and remains the number 1 team in the country through this this week of rankings. What do you make of the Boilermakers?
Thought they played well. I thought their guard play was good. The freshman guard played really well. I mean, Edey's just unstoppable down there. They run great offense. They had a tough loss at Indiana earlier this week, but Indiana's really good, and it's hard to win on the road. I mean, they're 21, 22, and 2. I think they're 12 and 2 in the Big Ten. I mean, they looked the part. They look like the real deal. I'm starting to believe a little bit more in the Boilermakers. Those freshman guards haven't hit the wall yet. I'm starting to pick up a little steam with the old Boilermakers. I think they're playing well, and they seem to have some really, really good chemistry and really, really good stuff to them.
Zach Edey, Player of the Year, right? I mean, he seems like kind of the only choice.
Not even close.
Yeah.
I don't know who else.
Right.
I guess Timmy and a couple. But then he'll be runaway National Player of the Year. And they run really good stuff. They run some handoffs and misdirection. It's a lot easier when you have a big-time guard to help him get his shot off. When you got a big-time, don't get me wrong, the cat's 7'4". But when you got a big-time big guy like that, it's not nearly as easy to just force-feed him the ball every possession. And they do a really good job at designing plays and getting things to get him the ball.
Teams like UCLA, Marquette, Virginia, in the top 10 as well. Anybody else jump out to you outside of the league that's playing nationally?
Well, I think Virginia, obviously defensively, is elite. They've got older guys. You can never count out them. But Marquette's the best offensive team in the country. They've got their point guard's phenomenal. They got a point forward and a point 4 and a point 5. They're incredible offensively. The problem is their defense just isn't probably what you need to win at the highest level in the NCAA tournament. I think they could tap out as a Sweet 16 type team. But Virginia, you can never go against them. What was the other team you asked me about?
I had UCLA.
Oh, UCLA. Look, Amari Bailey's back playing. He's playing well. I think he had 27 last night at Oregon State. He's the X factor for them. He gets back and he starts scoring and playing well and takes their offense to another level. They're in great shape. And so I think if you were asking me, I like Virginia and UCLA a little bit more than Marquette.
Did you ever go out to Sierra Canyon and recruit that team? Because last year we couldn't ask you about it mid-season because of Bronny James wearing an LSU basketball shirt. But how did that come to? Did you go out there and recruit Sierra Canyon?
No, we saw Sierra. Everybody sees them because they're. It's a traveling road show.
Sure.
But no, we didn't go out there and do much. We didn't go out there and do much recruiting out there. But I don't know how he got that, to be honest.
Yeah, that was great publicity. But obviously Amari Bailey's teammate. All right, the other one I asked you about was Marquette. Marquette cracked the top 10.
Offensively they're elite. I like Virginia and UCLA a lot more than Marquette. I just don't think their defense is going to hold up enough. I know that sounds crazy coming from me, but they got the number one offense in the country. They can outscore a lot of folks. But their defense is. They look like our profile from before our final. They look like our profile. Top 5 offense, top 80 defense.
Yeah.
Which is good and is good enough to get you to the second weekend if you get the right draw, but you ain't getting much further than that. That's why, I knew I had to get our defense better. I'm not a moron. If you're going to win it all, you got to have a top 20 offense and top 20 defense. It's just that clear. And so, you can be 3rd in offense and 18th in defense and win it. Or you can be 5th in defense and 18th in offense and win it. But if you're looking for teams that can win it when you fill out your bracket, they better have a top 20 offense and top 20 defense.
Yeah.
And you got to have some of that balance. And I think UCLA's probably got the closest to that, Virginia, and then Marquette's the furthest away from that. But they are, if you haven't seen them play, they are a ton of fun to watch on offense. They are awesome on offense to watch.
Arizona's a top 4 team. What do you make of the Wildcats?
Playing great. They've got really, really good guard play. When they shoot it well, they're almost unstoppable. They got really good bigs as well. Look, it's the Pac-12's Arizona and UCLA, and then a bunch of just kind of not a whole lot else. Southern Cal's pretty good. Oregon's playing better. Arizona State's going to be on the bubble, but they've lost some tough games. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, the two Bay Area schools are not very good. Washington's not very good. Washington State's not very good. Oregon State's not very good. Colorado's been up and down. They're talented. Utah's just been okay. I mean, they're towards the top of the league, but they're nothing to write home about. Arizona, what you asked about, Arizona State's, been up and down, but they got a huge win at Stanford last night. They could not have afforded a loss at Stanford late last night. They rallied from 10 down in the second half to win at Stanford, which was one that they could lose if they want to stay on the bubble. But Arizona's, they're going to be, they've got a top 20 offense, top 20 defense. They're a team that's got a chance to win it all and stay in that category, stay in that lane. And I like their chances in the NCAA tournament as well. Kind of weird. I'm high on the two Pac-12 schools, UCLA and Arizona, but I think Virginia's got it with the veterans and Tony Bennett. I wouldn't bet against them either.
Will you watch the Super Bowl? When's the last time you watched the Super Bowl?
Oh, I usually don't watch it. I'm going to watch it. It's funny. My wife said something about her company party on Sunday. I'm like, what's going on Sunday? She's like, babe, it's the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, okay.
Sweet.
I don't know if I'm going to go to the wife's. I don't know if I'm going to go to my wife's, not her company, but the little group she volunteers and works with. I don't know if I'm going to go to her. I don't know if I'm going to go to the old party, but I'm going to watch it for sure.
So I have told my inner circle, and I guess I'll tell the people now. I haven't said it ever publicly, but you and I watched a tournament game together. And you watch games, an NCAA tournament game, you watch games with the volume down. And so it is like it's complete silence in a room of a lot of action happening. Will you do that with the Super Bowl? And is that how you regularly watch games?
I watch basketball with the volume down. I can't stand the commentators.
Okay.
We used to, I mean, I won't say who, but Coach Armstrong, my assistant, there was one guy who did SEC games and still does them. I mean,
Brutal.
Right. And every time Bill would look up his record, all this stuff. Can you believe they let this guy talk about us? I mean, he would just go ballistic. I'd be like, Bill, don't listen to him. I don't listen to him. He's like, I can't believe you don't listen to these. I mean, he would just go nuts on him. I said, Bill, just don't listen to him. So anytime I watch, even to this day when I watch a game, I keep the volume off.
Like completely muted. Like no sound. It is no sound at all. It's mute.
Yeah, I just would rather watch what's going on, make my own opinions. I don't need somebody to tell me how to think. I mean, look, man. I mean, that's a hard job doing the color commentary. But I mean, a lot of it's show.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it's show. They're trying to show to get me. There's politics and who gets this game and who gets that game and who gets this game and who gets that game. But I would always talk to them before. Like there's some really, really sharp. There's some really, really sharp guys. Like I developed a good relationship with Dane Bradshaw, who does some SEC. But I'd let him in our film sessions and let him just kind of hang around because I thought he was really. I thought he just was really good. He was always prepared with questions and like you could just tell like he had a lot of really, really, really good stuff. But I mean. Yeah, I'll watch the Super Bowl with some problem. I mean, football, I don't really care about the commentary, but the basketball, I don't listen to any of that. If I watch a game, I watch a bunch of games. When I watch the games, the volume's 99% of the time off, unless there's a stat or something on the screen that I may listen to what they're saying. But that was an interesting experience, wasn't it, watching that game?
That was something. That was definitely something. I'll remember that forever. Do you know who's playing in the Super Bowl?
Yes. The Eagles, because Dr. Joel Fish, our former sports psychologist, is the biggest Eagles fan you've ever met.
Okay.
And the Chiefs, because Buddha, Javante's uncle, is the biggest Chiefs fan you've ever met. And he's been texting me the last 2 weeks incessantly about the Chiefs.
That is
so.
I'd have lost that bet. I would have believed that you didn't know who was in the game.
I knew that because Buddha texted me the minute the Chiefs. Who'd the Chiefs beat in the championship?
They beat Burrow.
No, who'd they beat?
They beat Burrow.
Burrow, that's right. Yeah. Bengals. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, easy.
Bengals. Who did the Eagles beat? I have no idea who the Eagles beat.
San Francisco and knocked their quarterback out within like the first 2-3 series.
Oh, that's right. San Francisco couldn't move the ball from 2 yards the rest of the game. I got you. Yeah. But yeah, I know that. So I know enough about that.
Great to see you, General. You're missing a hell of a day down here in South Louisiana. It'll be fun to check in with you next week.
I'm going to withhold any comments on
I have not.
That.
I have not. So
so I've heard somebody sent me some clips of you your battle royale there. I like that. Good for you. It's good for you. Keep everybody on the toes a little bit.
Salute, General. I'll talk to you next week. Have a good weekend.
See you guys. Thanks. Have a good one.
Later. All right, brother.